So that's kind of what we're going to be unveiling with the public tomorrow, is to be able to sort of talk about, this is what we're going to be doing, this is what we've completed with the port. Now we know a road to what, and so now we need to be able to go forward and look at, what is the best use of public funds to provide a roadway access to that port facility. So, like I said, we basically are completing the traffic study and that potential access justification report, the location study, as well as all the environmental documentation that we need to do along with that. That's something we'll be getting guidance from FHWA and from MoDOT throughout that process, as well as working, with other agencies. We look at potential impacts. Basically, we would have a draft of that document to be distributed in May. And again, like any other NEPA process, you have public comment period, and then there's extensive review time with the federal agencies as you kind of go back and forth to get that to be a final draft. So we're looking at having a public hearing in May to be able to help select a locally preferred alternative for the roadway access. And then again, like I said, the federal review process is extend beyond that a few months, just based on their standard review and comment periods and times for revisions and resubmittal and that type of thing. So, any questions about the roadway?
Can you use like that road's going to benefit others other than the port?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. The feds, FHWA, right off the bat said you can't just build a driveway to your port. That's not going to fly. So no, it would, potentially could be considered an intermodal connector. You've got other industrial uses, obviously, in the area that could benefit from a connection to the interstate. Better access for even some of your emergency facilities.
Yeah.
So you can sort of help to reroute things from the community use and their connection to the interstate as well. So no, this can't be just a fancy driveway for trucks to go up and down, and that's it. With come off the interstate, go straight into the port, and come back out. That's not going to fly. Mm-hmm.
My observation is that you have 3 sites that involve environmental cleanup, address the issues. It would seem, and I think, quite honestly, an environmental cleanup of a brown site and reuse for warehousing and dock is a good use. Mm-hmm. But the feasibility studies that I've always seen in this area have always maybe picked one site out that was not a environmental cleanup situation, just for comparison purposes. Was the original goal just to focus only on environmental cleanup sites?
No, not at all.
Was that 4th site a private site that wasn't an environmental cleanup, or was that also?
Well, any of them have environmental issues. A lot, because you're talking about riverfront property, for the most part, you're talking about that there's going to be environmental issues because of wetlands, because of the habitat species and things like that.
I'm very familiar with 404 permits and the environmental mitigation, but in terms, in contrast to cleanup of toxic, problems, environmental toxic issues, it would seem that it would be good to have one site, just for comparison purposes, to really have a diverse feasibility study that didn't involve an environmental cleanup. And again, I'm not talking about mitigation and wetlands. We have those everywhere. But I'm talking about the toxic cleanup issues.
The goal of the project was not to specifically seek out, let's find something messy and see if we can make it look pretty, and function economically. That wasn't the goal. I will say that there is obviously a lot of motivation with a lot of the progress that Doe Run is making with their area in terms of interest in repurposing. So I will say that there was interest in doing that. I think the other sites were also looked at in terms of their potential availability for a port, having the type of parcels that you could consolidate to function at that magnitude, sort of limits you, and also something, having the rail and the river and the highway access is critical. Yeah. So again, where are those connections happening? They're usually around areas that, if not are functioning right now as industrial, but have in the past. And so I think that's where a lot of those things come up.
But you did not look at a non-toxic site.
I don't know that. Go ahead, Dan, if you want to.
These sites were picked by the Port Authority because that's the only site that's available we have access to. Most of the river, if you look up and down Jefferson County, is nothing but bluffs. And so they're not feasible to develop, and so when the road came from Herculaneum to the river, this give us access to the river. That's why we started there and expanded into these other sites, because they could be developed as a long port, and again, it's the only sites that were available.
So topography eliminated the other
Yeah.
other locations. Okay.
And also from an
Well, thank you for answering that. I think it was a good presentation.
And, you know, from an alternatives analysis perspective, you know, the Corps and other folks are going to be wanting to look at and consider, say, why here and not expanding one of the other ports that already exists today. So I think some of that comes into play in terms of the comparison that you're talking about, and being able to discuss some of the limitations that are out there, and then also focusing on all the benefits that may be received versus the potential impacts that would be incurred to a project like that.
So good presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions?
You were polite. Yeah, you always are.
People in here, what is the impact of the city, on the 3 river sites? What is their financial gain? What do they need to do? Are these roads going to be private? Are they going to be open? Are they going to have, more, not private, but I'm saying is the city going to have to remove snow and control them? Or is the Port Authority having a fire, police, EMS? All the emergency services as well as these have. What kind of just questions on that? What is the financial? Just because this is going to be built, then there's going to be the city's going to have a lot of burden on them financially as far as fire protection.
We really didn't get into that because we don't know what, we don't know what any agreements would be on this. And that's something that the Jefferson County Port Authority, and Dan, maybe you want to address this, and the cities are going to have to work out how that's going to happen, because it does happen different ways in different areas.
It's not totally worked out yet, but we already know that City of Herculaneum is building a road back to Doe Run. That's already being built, so we'll be utilizing that road. So that's already going to be took care of by the city. Hopefully in Festus and Crystal, when that road, or from Crystal, when that road comes in, we'll have something worked out, because there's going to be other uses for that road besides the port. And you're going to have an economic impact to the cities that's going to bring a lot of taxes coming in from uses for the port. So hopefully that's going to offset any extra maintenance that you'll have for the road.
And that was what I was going to worry.
Yeah.
Because it had $68 million for Herculaneum, $33 million for the, but that was for all Jefferson County. I didn't know if it was.
Right.
I didn't know if it was just the property taxes, or how it all worked.
That's not totally set up yet. We'll have to work into that as we get into it, but it won't be a burden on the cities when it's all done, because you're going to be a big impact. Yeah.
Didn't know how it would work.
There's any more questions? If not, thank you for